Discraft listened. They listened to us. Discraft, y'all killed this one. Love it. This is a zone. This is a super beat up zone. And this is the brand new Zone SS. And if you're like me, you've been waiting years for this disc. Luckily, like a year and a half ago, I found this super beat up zone in the Down for Disc Golf used bin. And this is as close to a Zone SS as I've ever found. Now in the past, I was also a person who would get a Jawbreaker Zone, beat the shit out of it, get a Zone SS, but the reality is they have, I don't know, maybe like a 3-month shelf life. You gotta smack some trees, beat them in, and then for a little bit, they're perfect, and then they're not. When I got my hands on the Zone SS, it was honestly pretty easy for me to make the switch. As you can tell there, they're pretty much identical. They fly dead straight, they kind of get a little bit of flip up, they do have a little bit of fade at the end, but for the most part, they're the same disc. Here's just a regular Zone for comparison. Never really gets to flat, a little bit of fade. I personally don't really throw like beefy zones. I tend to like those old circle stamp ESPs. The ones I have are all pretty fresh, so they're still relatively new. But with the old ESP super beat up zone, the reality is like most players, unless you've had one for the last 10 years, are never gonna get the zone to that Zone SS slot. So would the old beat up zone technically be a little bit better? Maybe. Because an overstable disc that's beat up, I believe, always has a little bit more integrity than the disc that was molded to act like a beat-in overstable disc, if that makes sense. It's very similar to the Firebird. You guys have probably seen me do this same comparison before, where you have a super beat up PFN Star Firebird and then a basically brand new one. And now, yes, could I find a different disc that flies like the super beat up Firebird? Probably, but because it was once a Firebird, it's always gonna have a little bit more consistency in my mind. So I wanna go ahead and answer a couple questions for you that I think a lot of people might be wondering. Is it similar to an A5? Similar in the hand feel, yes, where I think this is a little bit lower profile than a Zone. Same with the A5 being a little bit lower profile than a Zone, but this is much straighter than an A5, especially the current runs of A5 that are a little bit beefier than the original runs of A5. The difference between this and an A4, because if you know me, you know I love an A4 as well, is I think this is still a little bit slower than an A4, and I think the A4 is gonna have a little bit more bite at the end until it beats up. I think when the A4 beats up, it's gonna be a little bit more similar to this. This disc, I would actually compare almost directly in line with a new stable Buzz SS. The Buzz SS pretty much does anything you want it to do out of the box, and I kind of think this falls right into that same category, just a little bit slower. And there's, I mean, pretty much an identical flight, just, I don't know, 50, 75 feet shorter. I have a bunch of old ESP circle stamp zones, but unfortunately, this is the only one that is just super beat up. These are kind of hard to come by because I think a lot of people really like this disc. Now we have this, thankfully, but I've been looking for a reason to kind of retire this disc because it has like micro fractures all through the flight plate, and I know it's just about to shatter. Now, could I still just keep throwing it until that happens? I guess I could, but I'd almost rather just cut the ties right now and move on to the new thing because I think this is just as good, and these are gonna probably be readily available throughout the year, and they feel great. They really do. So those are kind of my initial thoughts on this disc. I'm gonna go ahead and throw these all in a nice pushy forehand line, show you how they fly. Wow, the Zone, 200 feet, dives to the right. Just a classic. Oh yeah, there's that extra push. Oh yeah, I wish I would have threw that a little higher, but you still get the point. Quick story time, if you're a regular on the channel, you know I've been asking for the Zone SS for a few years now. It's one of my favorite slots of disc, that controllable hyzer flip. I was super happy to actually find out about these a little bit earlier than everyone else. I can't remember when like the official kind of news broke, but when I was at the Discmania Challenge earlier in the summer, Paul Macbeth was there and he had a bunch of protos. And I was talking with him and he was showing me the new protos, so like the Melita. He had like 3 versions of that. He also had, I think, like another more overstable mid-range that like maybe comes out later on. And then he had the Zone SS. He had a prototype. It might have been the same run of this. I can't totally remember, but it had in Sharpie on the bottom, Zone SS, and he was showing me it. I got to feel it, and I was so excited to finally see that Discraft listened. They listened to us. Maybe not. They probably had this on the agenda for quite a while, but I was so excited about it. And then I was getting so many DMs because people know that I've been wanting this disc. And I was like, funny enough, I've actually known about this for like over a month now, but thanks for reaching out and letting me know that my new favorite disc is about to hit the market. But cool little story. Happy to say I was probably one of the first people in the general public to know about this disc coming. Up next, because I want to give you guys a decent read on some different lines, I'm going to try and hit that backhand turnover, kind of see how they pan out to flat. We'll start with the Zone. Now this is probably one of my favorite shots with the Zone because it's just the perfect stability to kind of just get to flat. We'll go beat up Zone, hopefully match that line, and it'll drift a little more to the right. But then it's still a Zone and flattens out right at the end. So I've gotten to throw this disc a little bit over the last couple weeks. I grabbed one when I was at Worlds, and I wanted to get some reps in with it before I come and make this review. And that throw right there kind of reminded me of like a key takeaway that I think when thrown on a hyzer release, like a hyzer flip to flat, almost even thrown flat as well, I think you're gonna get a very similar flight to a super beat up Zone. I think where the biggest difference is gonna be in the flight is when you actually put the thing on Annie. I think it's gonna act a little more like, you know, kind of like the Buzz SS, where it's gonna not burn over, but it is gonna hold and really push and drag, right? Whereas the Zone or beat up Zone is gonna kind of be like fighting out of the turn for most of the flight. I feel like this couldn't be like a better example. We got Zone SS furthest to the right. We got the Zone right in the middle, beat up Zone right in the middle, and then we got the Zone furthest out left. Obviously not the same exact shot, as good as I can do. Try and get you a little close up of the rim here. I think the biggest difference right on the top, it's a little more rounded, a little lower profile, but the bottom half almost feels identical to a Zone, which is obviously what we want. Like they probably could have done this disc and like it comes out and doesn't necessarily feel like a Zone, and then that would kind of defeat the purpose. But I think the hand feel is about as close to the classic Zone feel as you could get, while still making it a little bit more straight to slightly understable of a mold. Self-admittedly, I'm pretty bad at throwing a forehand that isn't on like a mega hyzer slot. Flat to Annie, it's not great, but I'm gonna try to throw a nice flat one for you guys. Put a little schmack on them. Probably my best flat throw ever. Was that flat? I don't know. You guys would probably be able to tell better than me. Oh, that was so bad. I was trying a little hard, but hey, there's like kind of like a shitty full flight flex out of it. Anyways, guys, that's all I can tell you about the Zone SS. I'm super happy with how it came out. I'm sure there's people that are gonna be like, this isn't what we wanted. Like it didn't quite hit the mark. I think they did. I think it feels good. And you know me, I'm not gonna tell you it's good if it's not. I could just keep throwing my old Zone. I could throw other things, but I felt one of these. I was like, damn, that feels pretty good. Threw the thing, flew great. I don't know, I love it. I actually think I think it's gonna be a disc that I throw a ton backhand, whereas I think maybe some people are thinking of it more as like a forehand disc. I'm basically thinking of it as just a baby Buzz SS. So I don't know, feels good. Discraft, y'all killed this one. Love it. hopefully, because Discraft loves to just pump their stuff out in all sorts of plastics, hopefully in the next year we get this disc in like a million different plastics, maybe, you know, a little variation in stabilities and stuff. I think they got a winner here. Well guys, that's pretty much gonna do it for this one. I'm gonna smack the shit out of these on a backhand, show you how they fly, and yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
I remember all them winters, drinking wood fur till we drown. We hear word about the party on the look.
Creator of Frisbee Club, motherfuckers.
The man, the myth.
Feeling pretty good.
And right here, I have a frisbee bag. It holds all my frisbees, the ones I like.